love, and longing. Baroness Tyr blinks somewhat as her afternoon walk has her pass by a familiar blonde human. She does not turn around. Good news or bad? It could go either way, to be honest, Vernon replies, and she turns to regard him. I think that might have been the worst possible answer. You're implying the situation, whatever it is, isn't under control? There are two families under an ancient feud. I'm hoping to relocate one of the combatants to Nodok and the other to the opposite side of the dark forest, Vernon says, and she frowns. A quarrelsome family? What manner of feud are you speaking about? Murderous. The Barlease and Harcool families used to be nobility, but they simultaneously tried to kill a political enemy and back their girl, which had them slaughter the other's ally and leaving each other covered in blood and both trying to deflect blame on the other party. And it escalated into warfare? Essentially, and then into unending vengeance until now, hundreds of years and many generations later, they cannot even think of the other without bloodlust. Vernon acknowledges, and she raises an eyebrow. And why in the name of the Empress would I want people like that in my domain? Ambitious, vengeful, and bloodthirsty are terrible traits, Tyr demands. Because things are about to get a lot worse, and we need to get these crazies away from each other. Worse in what way? Of their many children, they have had young men. Those young men, sorcerers? 3 in either family. They've made the initial connection, and there's no stopping it now. Trying to slow it will likely just speed it up and give them a vicious edge as well, Vernon says, and Tyr considers. Are you trying to gentle them as you did Cal's Tarn? She asks. We are. The forest itself has taken notice and has offered itself as legal guardian to not only them but their siblings after the latest round of arrests on the older, thoroughly bloodthirsty generation. The Empress is watching and has allowed this by acknowledging the forest as a legal citizen of Surbo and all sorcerers as adoptive children, which means I've been patriated into a citizen for the 10th time now. 10th? Tyr asks. There's a moment of confusion as Vernon is rather well known for being head over heels for his one and only wife. My wife and my 8 daughters are the first 9. Ah, she says. That does fit in with what she knows about him. Still, I don't see the benefit of having them here. I understand that you don't want 2 trinities of sorcerers to battle and cause immense damage, but my primary concern are the people of my own land. I agree, which is why I'm not here to simply order you or convince you, but I'd like your help in brainstorming a way to stop this. You're the woman with knowledge on how to lead the Apuk. I can tell you that the young sorcerers of each family will not be able to let go if a member of the other family murders one of theirs, which means the families need separation. My wife believes that separation alone might be enough, but I disagree. It's too easy to get around, and with public transportation, you can walk to almost any city or town on Surbo within a few hours at most. I agree. Moving either family to my land won't do much of anything, even if you manage to put the other family on the exact opposite side of the world. Which is why we need something more, Vernon says. Such as? I'm thinking a bribe. If the 2 families can stay away from each other and not break any laws for, say, 50 years, if either family were willing and able to do that, would you be able to offer them a seat of power? It doesn't have to be big, but remember, both families are former nobility, and from my understanding, each side blames the other for the loss of their power, which means even a crumb of it would be a hefty bribe. What is the lowest rank you have available? Landed knight, Tyr remarks as she thinks deeply and her brow furrows in thought. These families, they both have 3 sorcerers to be among them? Yes, and they're currently in a gentle state, but could be made vicious as an older sorcerer would be? Yes. What would the forest do if sorcerers were to try and kill each other? It wouldn't allow it. It would interfere and redirect their rage elsewhere. Say it the nobles that once stood against their families,
at the officers that prevented a firm and clear resolution before their own birth, at the queendom they called home, against any number of things. Anger doesn't demand justice, just release, which, if you'll recall, your enemies attempted to direct at you through Kalstar not so long ago. I see. Are there any good sides to this? These are women who have been more or less in either a cold or hot war for multiple generations. Before that, they were officers and commanders. Battle is in their blood. War sings to them. They're trapped in a petty cycle of revenge, but you could also twist it into a fierce protectiveness. They endured the plagues of Egypt in order to keep fighting, Vernon explains, and she raises an eyebrow. The plagues of Egypt? She asks, and he pulls out a communicator and brings up the recording he got from the police. Brace yourself. Also, I went backwards. Their children being under the protection of the Dark Forest is my equivalent of the 10th plague, Vernon says, handing the device over. She watches without saying anything, but her lips press together until they're more a straight line. His ending rant as they're blood-soaked, beaten and worn causes her eyebrows to climb upwards. They took all that and were still ready to fight and kill at the end. It was only that they couldn't tell each other apart that they stopped. Tyr notes, yes, once the darkness, locusts, hail and lighting went through it, showed that reason, intimidation, shame and pain wouldn't drive them off. I wasn't trying to kill them, I was trying to get them to stop without putting them into a coma or imprisoning them. In the end, only making it so they couldn't tell each other apart made them back off. That's not a good note in their favor, Tyr says, handing Vernon his communicator back. I know, but it's potential. Before the children became sorcerers, both families could have wiped themselves out and the damage would be contained to them. But now there's a dangerous power that will inherit this hate, and if they can't direct it at each other, where will it go? Vernon asks. But they will be a power? Tyr asks as she's considering. This is a danger, yes, but, they're going to need more than a mere bribe, I think. Not so much that as another condition to lose it at. If they even enter whatever country their opposite ends up in, then they lose their chance. Tyr considers, if their rivals lose a chance to regain their lost glory by coming to my barony, then it will likely keep them away. Another punishment detail, Vernon suddenly says, and Tyr looks at him oddly. If they're found hunting down the opposite family outside of this barony, or outside wherever their opposites end up, means they get exiled from this one, and might never get this kind of chance again. Yes, that will work well, especially if they're being checked in on. They're going to have to be. They have sorcerers in the family, which means visits either to or from the Dark Forest. Vernon agrees, and she clearly starts considering. There is an old keep not far from Nodok. Restoring it could be part of their duties. Tyr considers more. It will keep them busy, Vernon remarks. That is the thing you do with the energetic and enthusiastic. Give them something to do and they'll get it done, Tyr says before smirking. Tell me, what kind of weapons did the two sides use? There was a clear preference for melee weapons, but more than a few had plasma or explosives ready. I see, and unless I was mistaken, there was no armor on those women. No. Foolish, but understandable. Armor needs to be personalized and is generally less reliable than a weapon when not built for the user. A hardened vest or a basic shield would still have been smart, Vernon notes. It would. Tyr agrees before considering. Then she grins. I will take in one of the families. They will have duties and obligations that, if fulfilled, will see them restored to noble status. But what of the other? I will be speaking to whatever baron or duchess is willing to listen to me on the opposite side of the Dark Forest for that. Liren would not be a wise place for it, Tyr says. Oh, my wife has contacts there, Vernon says. They have a very proud and haughty martial tradition. Newcomers on the scene would be relentlessly harassed, and that will just lead to the family falling back into their bad habits. And with nothing to lose, they will attack and provoke their opposite. So, you need to look elsewhere. I see. Vernon considers. No point brooding. Do you have any recommendations, milady? Oh, so now you're getting polite? She teases and he flinches a bit. Sorry, I'm on the job and focused. I understand. If half the people on duty had that level of focus, the galaxy would be a much wealthier place. Uth Tyr says with a smile. Now, if you want my professional recommendation, the Gurren Duchy is only a duchy in technicality. They are old, they are proud, but they are not warriors. The mountainous region has little in the way of useful land, and its main wealth is in its quarries and artisans. It has only a token-standing army that's stretched thin. And that means that there's an opening for a martially inclined family, Vernon notes. It does indeed. And should the Duchess Garan refuse, where next? Duke, actually. Uth Tyr notes and Vernon's eyebrows quirk up. Duke Hart Garan is one of the few in power Upuk noblemen on the world and is generally regarded as a strange sort, but he's obsessive with his work and considered brutally realistic. Really? Vernon asks. I even heard a rumor that the reason you're so romantic is you accidentally stumbled on the romance he had surgically extracted from his soul. Uth Tyr notes and he snorts in amusement. Oh no, all this sap is homegrown, I assure you, he remarks, and she titters in amusement. Thank you for your time, and thank you very much for your cooperation. There is a small army of children in the dark forest whose parents are dead, set on murdering each other. I'm glad I won't see any more orphans among their number. You were supposed to guilt Sling before you convinced me, not after, Uth Tyr says. I didn't need to. You're what's known as a rational person. I know this can be a bit of a shock, but you're one of those rare people that don't need to be coerced, bribed, blackmailed, or bullied into working with others. Strange, isn't it? Don't you have a duke to talk to? She asks him, and he chuckles. That I do. Granted, it'll be my first time there as well. Do you know about anything that would make a good souvenir for 8 adorable baby girls? Stuffed animals are always solid. I thought they were soft, he asks in a voice that genuinely sounds confused. I'm not sure if you're flirting or being friendly, but stop it. I already have someone, Uth Tyr says. She really does, Koga says, suddenly next to Vernon. You can relax. There's only one lady for me. I was just being friendly, Vernon remarks. But 3's a crowd and I'm shy. See you later. Then he's gone. Then he's back before anyone can say anything. Oh, by the way, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And that precludes what exactly? Koga demands. Adultery? Vernon asks. Get out. Uth Tyr orders him and he snaps off a salute and is gone again. Both of them wait a moment to see whether or not he's going to pop back in with another joke. But no, he doesn't. You're back. That took a little longer than expected, Miro Noir notes as Vernon reappears and gives her a hug. She needed to be talked around, but we have a place for one of the families. There's also a slight change of plan. Liron apparently has a very proud and exclusive martial culture there, so Harkul or Barlis will not be able to distract themselves there. However, the Gurren Duchy has been recommended. I've heard of Duke Hart Gurren. The man has been described as a canador in the boardroom. He's strictly no-nonsense and redefines the term stern. Miro Noir says. That will make dealing with him straightforward at least. But apparently he has a weak military, so introducing people that are naturally inclined towards military behavior to the area will shore up his borders. Not to mention if he's really that stern, then he'll keep whatever family we put there on the straight and narrow. Or hold them to a standard so high that they're guaranteed to fail, Miro Noir rejoins. We won't know until we talk with him. Both of us. You have unofficial power as a sorcerer, But something more openly acknowledged would be useful, I think. Of course, so long as he doesn't start eyeing up my girl. Vernon teases, and she gives him a very light elbow in the gut. Vernon, that's awful. This isn't Earth. I have to fight off my fellow women to keep them off of you, not the other way around. Noir chides him, and he chuckles. Just let me have that. Oh, very well, Noir replies with an amused sigh.